Number 1, it can be reasonably inferred that Sylvia regards her older brother with A, resentment, B, affection, C, reverence, or D, jealousy. Now I'm going to slide the passage underneath, and as you can see, you find the answer to number 1 in not only the first paragraph, but also the second. It says that her first impulse was to throw down her work and run to meet them. Okay, think about what emotion that shows. The second one says that she greeted the neighbor cordially, the stranger courteously, and began to gather up her work. And she gave a look that gave a heartier welcome than her words. A look that gave a heartier welcome than her words. So now we'll go back to number 1. It can be reasonably inferred that Sylvia regards her older brother with, the answer is affection. Now you're going to have to infer and work on your vocabulary with this. That's what this passage is all about. Affection means love, caring, warmth, understanding. She loves her brother. That's what makes her want to run as fast as she can to greet him, and that's why when she welcomes him, her words seem heartier and more kind and loving than just a regular greeting. Okay? Number 2, it can most reasonably be inferred that Mark agrees that his younger sister can go on the trip because F, he needs her special knowledge about nature. G, he has not paid enough attention to her recently. H, his friends asked that she be allowed to come. And J, Sylvia is not able to stay alone at home. Now one of these we can easily rule out, and that is H. Neither of his friends talk in this passage, so always rule out what you know is incorrect. We can find the answer in the last paragraph on the first page. It says that he, meaning her brother, remembered her devotion, how much she loved him, and his late neglect of her, and he longed to make atonement. He'd been gone. He hadn't seen her since he'd been at school. He needed to make amends to her. And so number 2 is answered in the last paragraph. So the answer to number 2 is G. He has not paid enough attention to her recently because he's been gone away to school. Number 3, it can be inferred that Sylvia's reaction to the invitation to go on the trip is indifference, annoyance, excitement, or uncertainty. So for this one, number 3, you're going to turn to the back of the passage. It's actually found in the very last paragraph. Look, she goes, "What?" Instead of "what?" or "what?" with a question mark, it's "what?" with an exclamation point. Cried his sister, starting up with characteristic enthusiasm. That means she's so excited. She's actually so excited that she sends her basket tumbling down the steps. She's so excited to go on the trip. So let's go back and look at this answer. It can be inferred that Sylvia's reaction to the invitation to go on the trip is definitely C, excitement. Look at punctuation. Think about what the text sounds like to help you answer those questions. Number 4, it can be inferred that Sylvia thinks that as a young woman, she should no longer listen to her brother's opinions, F. G, exercise greater control over her emotions. H, keep the home while her brother travels. Or J, not make requests of her older brother. So let's look at this. The answer to this actually can be found in the very first paragraph. You don't have to look very far at all. It says, her impulse was to throw down her work and run to meet them. Just pretend like there's a but here that shows we're going a different way. But her second impulse, it's not stated impulse, but it's talking about her impulse, was to remember her new dignity and sit still awaiting them. She's become a young woman, so she has different ways of acting now that she's more dignified. So the answer to this is G. She had to exercise greater control over her emotions. Now, granted, in the last paragraph, she sends her basket and the cat and the shawl and everything tumbling down the stairs. She's so excited. But at the first part, she has to show she's grown up. Number 5. It can be inferred that Mark silently consults his friends in order to A. determine whether they would object to Sylvia's presence on the trip, B. ask whether either of them has recently seen his missing knapsack, C. determine whether they are aware that it is Sylvia's 18th birthday, or D. to propose that they sit with Sylvia while she continues to do her work. This one, the answer to this one, starts in the last paragraph. Get that all straightened up. With elevated eyebrows and inquiring glances, he turns from one friend to another. So it starts here at 5. That's the elevated eyebrows. He's asking a question because he's inquiring. And then it finishes up on the back. Moore, his friend, nodded and he smiled, which is a good thing. That means it's okay that she goes. Warwick nods, but then he sighs. He's not as excited as Moore is. Moore smiles, Warwick nods and sighs privately. That means to himself. And he takes the group vote. And that's when he tells Sylvia, you can go if you like, Sylvia. And then she knocks everything over. So, it can be inferred that Mark silently consults his friends in order to A, determine whether they would object to Sylvia's presence on the trip. So that is how you answer those 5 questions. Good job.